Of course, it's that time of day, isn't it? Well, it's an M14 at least. Has all the lovely trademarks of a cheap-ass gun. Alright. Might as well give this thing a look. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, I'm your host, AirsoftAL, and welcome to, of course, week 3 of Hidden Gem Month. And today we take a look at a AGM Springer. Now, there are several AGM Springers on the market, but not a lot of them people have covered, or at least if they haven't done it as good or in-depth as they should. And I can think of a few people who have done that. But what I'm talking about today is an AGM Springer that is actually something that can be turned to something good. I'm, of course, talking about the AGM M14. Now, the sad part about this is that it only comes in 3 colors. Your basic black, your OD green, and, of course, your FDE, your faded dark earth. No woodland, no wood color, no brown, no any sort of imitation wood color. That is a travesty in of itself and something that should not be a thing. But this is not supposed to be an M14. This is supposed to be apparently based off of a civilian variant of the M14, the M1A. Now, the box itself is, of course, your basic cardboard and your lovely, environmentally not friendly styrofoam. And, of course, on the box itself, we have the operations. We have, of course, this, which actually shows all the stuff about it. But what I love about it is that this is supposed to come with other things that it did not. It's supposed to come with rail covers and a flashlight. This came with neither. So already that's a bad thing. And what I love about, and what I find actually kind of hilarious is the Photoshop on this. Because the Photoshop, if you look rather close at it, it shows him holding a pistol grip. There is no pistol grip on this M14. So they just, if you can identify what this Photoshop is and what this original image here was from, I'd love to hear it. But either way though, what does this feature? The items featured are, of course, a metal rear sling aperture. It is adjustable in 1/2 step for elevation and windage. Metal, we'll see that. Metal operating rod, we'll see that, and a metal barrel. That's it. So already that is rather yeah. Now, this, of course, is from the Union Fire Company, the UFC, AGM and S&T Armaments, which is distributed in Hong Kong. I'm going to look into UFC and look at them, see about them, because now I'm a little bit curious about it since, well, I have 3 different companies on this packaging, so I don't know who makes it or who distributes it, but we'll see about that. So, what actually comes in the box itself? Well, you get the gun in 2 pieces, the rail system, the red dot, no flashlight, no rail cover, a bag of BBs that I believe are .2s, but they could very well be .12s, but then again, they were heavier than .12s, so I'm going on the limb and say .2s. No manual, some screws, and a small cheap-ass screwdriver that will break on you if you put it through serious use, so I don't recommend you use it. You just either put it in the scrap metal pile to take off to actually collect for scrap money, or you don't do a lot with it. But what about the gun itself? The gun itself is all polymer, but like I said, it came in two pieces. It's rather interesting to actually put in because it is a semi-rock and lock fashion to put the upper with the body itself. Speaking of the body, it's also polymer but has some serious weight to it, so if you don't want a really heavy gun, you can remove the weights to it and make a more lightweight scout rifle, which is something I'm going to be doing when I paint the gun, when I paint the body of the gun itself a proper brown. Now, what does it come with in terms of features? Well, you have your magazine, which is not an AEG magazine, a very missed opportunity, AGM. The two screws, one of which goes in the magazine release, which actually is what keeps the upper and lower together. That right there already is not a good thing. The rail system, which has a screw right here, which keeps the rail on itself and I believe acts as an anchor for the lower and upper. Again, not 100% sure on that. The bolt itself, which is all metal, the polymer bolt, which is supposed to be a toggle bolt, not really toggle, just the rear aperture sight, which is not metal, question mark. Again, I have a question about the sight information, but what I will say is that it is a full-length M14. Now, whether or not this thing has any sort of, really anything of that nature, which the barrel is metal, of course, any sort of threading under this flash hider here, I don't know, but if not, then I'm just going to paint this sucker black so it's not, you know, frickin' stand-out-ish. The rail system itself is not completely secured, and of course you have the very much so cheap red dot optic, which has a cross on it, and doesn't really do anything. I wouldn't recommend, if you do want to use this, by all means, you can use it until you get a proper optic, which this is substantial for what it needs to be. Now, this does come with a hop-up, which is right here in front of the magazine, as your standard M14 AEGs would be. But the prime on this, because it is a Springer, is atrocious. And for the FPS this thing is putting out, which is reported in the box to be under 300, I don't believe so. But actually shouldering, and like I said, that prime is atrocious. And firing, yeah, yeah. And the rail itself is not entirely secured all that much. It is still wobbly. Now, you can undo the screw and basically run it as a classical M14, and that is your right to do so. But it does have a screw port, or at least it would have a screw port, or at least the ability to be able to have the optic to come over the ejection port. And if you want to, you can use a rail riser to actually come over the ejection port to have an optic right here. But again, one of those things, so it's totally up to you how you want to do this. The magazine, which I want to go ahead and speak my piece on, really before I do, there is checkering right here and here on the body itself, on the grip area and the pistol grip area. But the magazine itself I want to talk about, because the magazine is a 2 clamshell style, not a, well, what would be a better option would be a solid piece. Instead, they went with the clamshell style, with the 6 screws holding it together. Now, this is a very weak magazine, but they are cheap. You can actually buy these magazines for about $8 a pop. So if you wanted to, you could buy more magazines, or you can 3D print your own. But unlike an M14 magazine, it doesn't have a cutout in the front here, but it does have the cutout in the back, which this will not work in a AEG M14, nor will the AEG M14 magazines work in this. I've tried, believe me. No, instead it takes the standard proprietary magazines that you see here. And of course, like I said, it is a rock and lock style. Now, you can do that right there. You can try and shove it in there, but no avail is going to work, as once again, this is indeed a rock and lock style magazine. The safety, of course, is right here, but the safety is so stiff that I swear I'm going to break it. And the trigger well itself is made of polymer, and the trigger is so squishy that it is not even funny. And the trigger is also polymer. Other Springers have metal, I'm not joking, have metal triggers, or at least thicker triggers. But that's just how it is, ladies and gentlemen. Either way, though, the biggest issue I have with this is not only the sling point, the rear being polymer, and the front here being metal, but it's the buttstock. The buttstock, as you can see, is not fully on the back here. Just look at this. Look at that complete total seam. I mean, I can literally, actually, yeah, no, I can completely take this off. And it's not funny. It's like, could it kill them to at least either mold it into place or at least give us something? Just saying. For a gun of this price tag, I expected more out of this. All these problems, I guess you could call them, can be alleviated with either 3D printing or at least something better at the most. But enough gabbing. You know, we want to know about this hop-up. We want to know about how this gun will do, because I know a lot of you know me, and yes, I have talked to people who have actually turned these into sleeper snipers. The big thing, though, is that the hop-up, I have talked with them, is absolutely atrocious stock. And so, we're going to see about that, actually. We're going to take this, we're going to wait till dusk. That perfect sniper's time to actually see how this does. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I have the AGM M14 here with its Picatinny rail, which, dear God, that actually does add some weight to it. Besides the long-ass fucking barrel, obviously, but let's go ahead and get the magazine here, which is not a rock and lock traditionally, mind you, but, you know, you could just shove it right up in there, but, which, let me go ahead and make sure this thing's feeding. Nope, not feeding, so yeah, no, so you do have to make a rock and lock motion on this thing, apparently. I don't know where the hell. So if you... So you do have to make a rock and lock motion for it. My bad, you don't... Okay, make sure it's feeding now. It's feeding. Alright, this is where the fun begins, and dear God, that prime. That prime is ungodly. And just... And the charging handle itself is, as stated before, really fucking uncomfortable. Like, you're gonna have to put some flex seal on this charging handle if you really want to make it comfortable. Of course, I might put some tape on there. I don't know. It is just uncomfortable for me. Like, dear God. You coulda put some coating on there, AGM. You coulda. Or at least made the charging handle a little bit bigger, but you didn't. Anyway. Let's go ahead and get the chronograph on it. Which, dear God, this thing is basically a spear at this moment. If I was to put the bayonet on it. So, firing. 295. I am hoping to get a tripod in the future, ladies and gentlemen, to be able to not do this. So, here we go. 273. Jesus Christ. 309. 8675309. I don't know why that song just popped in my head. I don't know. Anyway. Jesus Christ. Alright. 306. 306, so duplicate. And finally, error. We got an error message. 13 FPS, which that's... Nah, that ain't right. If that wouldn't... Make sure the bolt's actually in place. Alright. And... 308. Alright. So we are at the 300 FPS mark, which is honestly not that bad. I am a little curious about the hop-up, though, because the hop-up, from what I've read, is a little bit notorious, but this can take an AEG spring, and from what I've read, it does have an AEG barrel in it. The older models used to have a plastic barrel in there that was basically just stacked up on one another, but if this does have an AEG barrel on it, and I am going to put an AEG barrel in there because I do have an M14 length AEG barrel. But if not, I'm just going to do... If the barrel does reach all the way out to where the flash hider is on this thing, I'm just going to put a redneck flat hop in it and a more powerful spring on there. yes, it will essentially be a pain in the ass to rack the bolt every so often, but I do have a Elite Force CQB spring, essentially. So it'll get, hopefully, CQB FPS, but at the same time, that redneck, I'm going to see what it does with the redneck flat hop first before even thinking of messing with the spring itself. So I'll just leave the stock, I'll just leave the stock spring in there until, you know, I can actually get things going. But again, once I get things going on this thing and I start doing all that, that should make things a lot better. But enough of my ramblings. Go ahead and throw a scope on this as well as a bipod and go outside and see what ranges we're actually getting out of it to see if the hop-up is anything to go by, the barrel is anything to go by, or the spring needs to be worked on. So, let's head on out, shall we? Here we are out here at dusk now, and this is the perfect time of day for some sharpshooting, because at this time of day, well, you can easily hide and blend in instead of noon, where the sun is at its highest. So we shall be using the battle rifle at its more amicable environment, I should say. So, I have it sighted in, I have the hop-up done right, we have the run cam here, everything is done extremely well. Yes. So, let's go ahead and get the run cam turned on. I have it on a bipod because most stable shooting position, and at the moment I'm using .2s because, well, that's kind of the only real thing until it's upgraded with a better spring that I can actually use it with, and most people will use .2s with this, as I've talked to. So, let's go ahead, get this on a close distance target at the moment. Yes, the scope is currently not a very good eye relief at the moment. I have to be right up on the damn thing. So, let's go ahead and fire at this barrel that is roughly 30 feet away, give or take. And my scope is not sight in. Okay, so I gotta go by eyeball here. That prime is still hard as hell, and I might put some tape around the charging handle because that does not feel very well. Like, at all. So let's go ahead and just... We got a hit on that barrel. Let's go ahead, readjust and aim for the barrel down at the barn. Actually, let's try and go for the barn just to see what we can hit. And I gotta aim up slightly because of the scope being way fucking down there. And once again, my scope is not sight in, so I gotta aim up more. Once again, scope not really... Okay. I hit the plant. I hit the damn plant, Jesus Christ. Oh, God. I'm not hitting that barrel at all, so we're just gonna go for straight, flat, not even going to try and use the scope shots. Let's see what we're looking at in terms of just flat, straight distance at that tree line, which is about roughly 100 foot, give or take. So let's see if it will reach this tree line. Just straight, flat trajectory. Well, I think it reached past the fence post down there. Let me just get a distance and let me aim for one of the fence posts and see where it lands there. Okay. With the scope now magnified, I'm going to see where the BB is landing. Okay, it's not landing at the fence post, it's actually landing behind the barrel, which is at, I want to say, the 70-foot range, give or take. Again, the hop-up on this is not exactly all that great, because BBs are going all over the damn place. Left, right, up, center, more or less. And I'm guessing the barrel is not exactly doing that best of a job either. But, the fact this thing has hop-up, and the barrel itself, from what I could see, is metal, means that this might be an AEG barrel. So I could probably insert a M14 length barrel in this, or at least a full-length AEG barrel in this, which will definitely improve the performance, as well as use a redneck flat hop in this, which definitely will improve performance. Hopefully, ladies and gentlemen. So, let me just rack again, see if I can't at least hit the barrel down there, hopefully enough. Ah, so close. So close. Gotta... Ah, went right off to the right. Yeah, the hop-up needs to be heavily worked on, this SOB. So like I said, ladies and gentlemen, this thing, it needs work. It needs serious work. And I mean that. This is a type of gun that you buy to turn into something else. Because, again, I've worked on this before for a friend of mine, Lawrence, who actually is with Headhunters Infidels. I actually built him a custom sniper out of one of these. And it can take an AEG barrel. It can take an AEG spring. And believe me, I'm going to do a more updated version of a takedown guide for this. Because from my research, this is a more newer model, as the older models had a polymer inner barrel that just connected. This one does not have a polymer inner barrel and instead has a full metal inner barrel. So that is going to be very interesting to say the least. But you're probably wondering what is the final verdict for the AGM M14, or at least the M1A. The final verdict for this gun, in all its flaws, is no more, no less than an 8 out of 10. It's a good buy, but it would have been a 9 out of 10 if it didn't have the issues that are present. It is a good, solid gun. It's not as bad as some other guns I've seen in the past, but it does work out pretty well. It does, in fact, work, and that's a big thing. If the hop-up didn't work, or at least it didn't fire correctly, or if there was something wrong with it internally that basically kept it from doing what needed to be done, then by all means I would have ripped this thing a new one. But it didn't. This gun does work. And is the perfect base gun for a sleeper sniper build, where you walk out into the field with a straight bolt action sniper rifle. And while, yes, it is an M14, it is still something that is a solid build. And again, it's something that will work. Now, well, yes, putting a stronger spring in this is going to hurt your hand a lot because of this charging handle being atrocious on the hand. Then again, that might just be me with my soft hands, or at least my more low iron count self. This is something that I think a lot of people are going to enjoy turning into a sleeper sniper. I know I will. And if someone can 3D print a magwell adapter to actually allow AEG M14 magazines to work with this, then by all means, please do so. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, I've been AirsoftAL, and I will see all you lovely, lovely people in the next video. And next week is the last week for this month of reviews. And I can only hope that the last gun for Hidden Gem Month isn't a bad gun, because Lord only knows we've had a good streak so far of decent guns. I don't want to end this month on a horrible gun. Heaven forbid. Till next time, ladies and gentlemen.